6 Emmerdale spoilers next week. Buckle up, Emmerdale fans. Next week is about to get wild. Shocking secrets, devastating losses, and a pregnancy twist that no one saw coming. And trust me, you do not want to miss what's about to unfold. From a major exit shaking the village to Mary's hidden guilt and Moira's unexpected joy, the drama is at an all-time high. But the biggest shock? Sarah Sugden has news that could change everything. Stick around as we break down all the spoilers for March 3rd to 7th, 2025. And hey, if you love Emmerdale drama, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Now, let's dive in. 1. Sarah Sugden conceals pregnancy as she's rejected by grieving Jacob Gallagher. Jacob is really going through it right now, struggling to cope with his grief, and it's starting to take a serious toll. He suffers a panic attack at work, and instead of dealing with his emotions, he buries them with a night of drinking alongside his mate Rich. Even Rich, who's usually pretty relaxed, starts to worry about Jacob's state of mind. Meanwhile, Belle and Laurel also clock what's going on and share their concerns. It's clear Jacob is in a bad place, but he's shutting down and pushing people away rather than letting them in. At the same time, Sarah is dealing with her own massive dilemma, and it's something that could change her life forever. She confides in Charity, clearly overwhelmed, before finally trying to talk to Jacob. But instead of listening, he completely shuts her down and tells her to stay away. Hurt and unsure of what to do, Sarah nervously looks at an unopened pregnancy test, knowing deep down that whatever the result, she's going to have to face it alone. And as the village prepares for Layla and Amy's funerals, emotions are running even higher, making everything feel even more intense. Later, Sarah gets the confirmation she was dreading, a positive pregnancy test. She makes another attempt to speak to Jacob after Layla's burial, hoping he'll be in a better headspace, but he's still completely overwhelmed and refuses to engage. With Jacob spiraling and unable to process anything else, Sarah is left alone with the weight of this life-changing news. Charity is there to support her, but the big question remains. Will Jacob find out before it's too late? And if he does, how will he react? 2. A flashback reveals Mary Goskirk's guilty link to the day of the crash amid funerals. The village gathers for Amy's funeral, but emotions are running dangerously high. Matty is struggling to keep his anger in check, especially with Cain around, and it's clear the grief is hitting him hard. Victoria steps in, reminding him that today isn't about old grudges. It's about Amy and saying goodbye properly. As the service begins, an emotional eulogy is read, paying tribute to Amy's life and the memories she left behind. But even as people come together to mourn, tensions are bubbling under the surface, making the day even more difficult for those closest to her. Meanwhile, Mary is dealing with her own emotional turmoil, and it only gets worse when she finds out Vanessa isn't planning to attend one of the funerals. Seeing Vanessa so upset over losing Susie brings up a wave of guilt for Mary, and while she offers comfort, there's something weighing heavy on her mind. Then, in a sudden flashback, we're taken back to the day of the crash, and a piece of the puzzle falls into place. Whatever happened that night, it's clear Mary is carrying a secret that she can't shake, and it's only a matter of time before it all comes spilling out. Over at the Woolpack, Tracy is also caught up in memories of that tragic night. As she sits there, lost in thought, another flashback reveals something we haven't seen before. But what exactly is she reliving? And more importantly, why is it coming back to her now? With so many emotions running high and secrets lingering in the background, it's clear that the past isn't going to stay buried for long. 3. Moira Dingle receives good news amid Cain Dingle's split. Moira has finally reached her breaking point, and despite the love that's still there, she tells Cain it's over. Asking him to move out is a heartbreaking moment for both of them, and while neither wants to admit it, the pain is written all over their faces. Cain might put on a tough front, but deep down he's shattered, and Moira isn't finding this any easier. Their marriage has survived so much over the years, but this time it feels different. As they come to terms with what's happening, there's an unspoken sadness between them, like they both know they're losing something they might never get back. But just as Moira's world is crumbling, she gets some unexpected good news. She's been given the all clear at the hospital. For the first time in a long while, she can breathe a sigh of relief, but that doesn't change the fact that her marriage is still falling apart. Now, she and Cain have the painful task of telling Kyle and Isaac that their family is about to change forever. It's a conversation no parent wants to have, but there's no avoiding it. The big question is, does this really mean the end of the road for Cain and Moira, or is there still hope buried beneath all the hurt? April Windsor is reunited with homeless friend Dylan Marlon, is finding it harder and harder to trust April, and it's causing serious tension between them. When he wakes in the night and catches her downstairs, she's livid that he's still keeping such a close eye on her. No matter how much he tries to explain, it only makes things worse, and April feels like her own dad just doesn't get her. Frustrated and needing an escape, she sneaks back to the squat where she used to stay, and is finally reunited with Dylan, the one person who truly understood what she went through on the streets. But when Marlon tracks her down, things go from bad to worse. The moment he sees Dylan, he jumps to conclusions and lashes out, convinced his daughter is in danger. April is furious. She's had enough of being treated like a kid, and she makes it clear to Marlon that he has no idea what she's been through. Surprisingly, it's Dylan who steps in to calm things down, encouraging April to go home and giving Marlon a reason to reconsider. Relieved, and maybe even a little embarrassed, Marlon softens, realizing that if he wants to rebuild trust with his daughter, he's going to have to start giving her some space. Just as Marlon thinks things are settling down, April throws him another curveball. She's invited Dylan to the village. She's convinced that he deserves a fresh start in Emmerdale, but Marlon isn't so sure. The two of them go back and forth over it, and though Marlon is clearly uneasy, he eventually gives in and agrees to talk to Rona about letting Dylan stay the night. But is this just the beginning? With April determined to help Dylan, it looks like he might be sticking around whether Marlon likes it or not. 5. Joe Tate reveals exit plans after Kim Tate Plan Joe drops a bombshell on Dawn, revealing that he's leaving, and the reason is exactly who she feared: Kim. The moment he says her name, Dawn's stomach sinks, knowing full well that Kim never does anything without a plan. But as the shock sets in, she starts to wonder, how much does Kim really know? It's bad enough that their affair is out in the open, but with Kim, there's always more going on beneath the surface. Has she uncovered something even bigger about Joe, or is this just the beginning of a much deeper game? Dawn's mind races as she tries to make sense of it all. She's horrified that Kim has this kind of power over Joe, forcing him to run rather than fight back. But the more she thinks about it, the more doubts creep in. Joe isn't exactly known for being straight up with people, and if Kim's got something on him, there must be a reason. Has Dawn been caught in the middle of something much bigger than she realised? And more importantly, is Joe really the victim here? Or is there something he's not telling her? 6. Manpreet Sharma left mortified as Chaz Dingle is suspicious. Manpreet has been acting shifty ever since the crash, and next week, things take a turn when Liam accidentally picks up her phone. The second she realises, she panics, lunging to snatch it back before he sees anything. It's a move that doesn't go unnoticed, and while Liam might not think much of it, Chaz certainly does. She's always had a sharp eye for when something isn't right, and Manpreet's reaction is enough to set alarm bells ringing. Whatever's on that phone, it's clear Manpreet is desperate to keep it hidden. But the real question is, what exactly is she covering up? Has she been in contact with someone linked to the crash? Or is this an entirely different secret she's trying to keep buried? Chaz isn't one to let things go easily, and now that she's suspicious, it won't take long before she starts digging. If Manpreet thought she could keep this under wraps, she might be in for a rude awakening, because in a village like Emmerdale, secrets never stay hidden for long. Wow, next week is shaping up to be an absolute rollercoaster in Emmerdale, with shocking exits, devastating losses, and secrets bubbling to the surface. There's no way to predict how it's all going to unfold. Will Sarah be forced to face her pregnancy alone? Can Moira and Cain really walk away from each other for good? And just how deep does Mary's guilt run? One thing's for sure, there's plenty of drama coming our way. If you don't want to miss a second of the action, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you're always up to date with the latest Emmerdale spoilers. And don't forget to drop a comment below. What do you think will be the biggest twist of the week? Let's chat all things Emmerdale in the comments. See you next time.